Welcome to Ladies of Another View on Beck. I am Mary, and I am joined by Carmen, or with Carmen, and Jan and Patty today. We have a full day ahead of us, and we're going to jump right into it because what is the talk right now going on? Of course, the Chauvin verdict, all right? Frustrating as it is, I just don't know which direction the country's going. We have to really understand, yes, he shouldn't have knelt on the neck for, what, 9.5 minutes? However, did he really commit murder? I don't think so. But I'm just a little bit worried about race relations and where we're going in the future. I want you to take a quick look at this video.
I'm Ami Horowitz. I'm back in Minneapolis, and the tensions are high. The city is about to explode. I'm here to find out what the hell is going on.
You can burn the whole city down. What does it matter?
So I say burn the city down, so they can see that we're here, continue the movement.
Do you think the city's going to burn down?
Yes, absolutely.
No question about it.
No. And that'll be the least of our problems.
By burning all the city down, we'll teach them a lesson?
I think, honestly, I'm all for burning it down. There shouldn't even be a trial. He should be convicted just as is.
If he got off, would you support street justice on him?
Yes.
Y'all should have fed him to the wolves a long time ago.
How many unarmed black people were killed by cops last year? Any idea?
100 plus? In just Minnesota?
No, around the country.
Oh, thousands.
Unarmed black people.
Thousands.
Seems like they're trying to erase, destruct the whole race of, the African-American race.
Would you consider this a genocide? It's the eradication of an entire people.
That's a good question, and now that I've been confronted with it, I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
I mean, genocide means like the targeting of one race for its destruction. Do you think that's what they're doing?
Genocide of anybody that's not white.
Would you call what's happening a genocide?
Yeah, I think that's one word for it.
Genocide?
Yes, most definitely.
A genocide.
Yeah.
We need another civil war in this country in order for us to have true justice.
If that's what it takes, then we have to do it.
Do we need another civil war now?
If that's what it takes, then I believe so. If that's what it's going to take to revamp everything, for everything to be equal, at least equal, for us to have justice, I believe so.
Will it happen? Probably.
What percent of this country are white supremacists?
Say most of the country. I can't give you a number, but
You say majority of the country.
yeah.
Should we just gather up the white supremacists and do street justice?
That would be ideal. Again, I'm not going to say anything that would directly incriminate me, but I would say that would be a good idea.
I don't want to say we need to go start killing all white folks, but it's like,
But
maybe they need to feel the pain and the hurt.
So, ladies, we can't put all blacks into one basket like they can't put all whites into one basket. This was a policing event that took place. He was resisting arrest. He was high on meth, high on fentanyl, passing fake $20 bills, and now a man is sitting in prison. And if you guys saw, when Chauvin, after the verdict was read and he was found guilty, he stood up, he put his hands behind his back. What would the world be like today if that would happen? If George Floyd would have just not resisted arrest, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Actually, we would. I put that up on our Facebook page, and somebody made a very wise comment. They said the same thing would be happening because they were waiting for it to happen. And they are, do you know what I'm saying? That it would just be a matter of time because of the mindset, because of the media that keeps playing these things over and over and over. It wasn't like this a few years ago. The media has stirred up hatred.
But media is just a small part of it. When I think of the overall picture with this, you've got BLM that's been totally sold down the river. You've got Antifa, which is like a terrorist arm, I don't care, I'll call it that, of this whole movement to destroy America. And it's not about race. They're using skin color as their next excuse to get socialism, fascism, communism into the mainstream of our society, and they don't really care how they get it. And if they can use skin color to do it, they're absolutely going to do it. And they drive that wedge. Race relations right now, some people say 50 years have been erased. I think it's even more than that. It's crazy how deep this has gone. And I will put it out there. This started with President Obama. He made sure it started when he was in office, and it never went away. There's a reason he kept a home in Washington, D.C., and he never moved out of town. He stayed right there. He's a community organizer by trade long before he ever became president. He knows what he's doing. He's got plenty of help. all around the world, and it's happening all around the world, and it makes me sick.
You know, I don't think that we are going to be able to retry the trial, you know, right here. Whether he's innocent or guilty, I feel sorry for all of the jurors. I think they should have been sequestered. They were frightened to death to do their job. You know, who would have wanted to sit on that jury?
They were afraid of being founded.
Correct. Then nobody wanted to be found out. I spoke with a couple of people that live in the Minneapolis proper area, and some of the comments I got from them were very few who actually live here want the city to burn, and those who do are pretty stupid to and don't understand the impact it would have on them. Or it's basically the ignorant or brainwashed people versus the people with critical thinking skills. That's the problem they have there. It's not hard to find a handful of people who will think that way, like the ones you just saw on camera, but it's also not hard to find a bunch of white people that will spout out, you know, supremacist crap. You know.
And I don't want to be misunderstood. I mean, with what Mary was saying, if Floyd had just gotten handcuffed and not resisted arrest, none of that would have happened yet. But I just think, like with BLM and the Democrats and the victimization and the media stirring this up, that it's just a matter of time, because what, you know, the stabbing, the 16-year-old that was trying to stab another girl and the police shot her.
If I remember correctly.
Well, the reason we're saying that is because her mother, the girl was in foster care, but her mother was interviewed, who said she is such a peaceful girl. She promotes peace. So we've laughed like, oh, it was a peaceful stabbing. And I watched a liberal media report on it, and they said, well, she was alleged to have a knife. And then they show the knife in her hand. Like, that is no alleged knife. That is clearly a knife, and she's about to put it in somebody else. But now we have a bunch of protests. Like, wait a minute, everybody, calm down. But the left, BLM, they're stirring this kind of thing up. They want mob justice. Maxine Waters came all the way from California out to Minnesota. That is not her district.
But the people that live in Minneapolis want the rest of the world to know, just like when we had the DAPL protests here, the people in Minneapolis had no clue what was going on.
Right.
And we were able to share some of that information with them, and it opened a lot of eyes. And the people there are saying, you know, when the verdict was read, it kind of almost didn't matter what it was, but because it was guilty, everybody in the city kind of collectively let their breath out. They've been holding it for months and months and months.
Right.
The energy changed that day, and people were able to sleep that night. And, you know, the tensions in families went down. You know, there is not just a black and white or green and purple or orange and chartreuse problem here. Right. A lot of it just has to do with these people's characters. And when you go downtown, the businesses are still boarded up, but the people had a calm because the National Guard had a presence there. Right. The presence from the National Guard was appreciated. These people brought them waters and energy drinks and sandwiches, and the relationship was fantastic.
But if the verdict would have been different, that city would be unrecognizable right now.
It's possible, but the National Guard presence was there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different than the last time,
right.
and the people knew that.
Well, and another thing I just want to throw in, never do they define the word justice. They say they want justice. Please define what that looks like. Where's the line that says, okay, now we got it?
And
we don't ever hear that.
We're going to have to figure that out. We have more coming up next. Our guest, Trent Loos, will be with us right after this on Ladies of Another View on Back.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Hop in the rig and go down the road with me. We'll cover local and national stories that impact you. What happens with national debt? Does anybody even care anymore? Do you think Governor Burgum truly understands the legislative process?
You know, I think he's got a better understanding now than he did 2 years ago.
Why in the world are we having a conversation about being anti-vaccination? Down the road with Joel Heitkamp weekdays at 5:30 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We have a guest here today, the one and only Trent Loos of Loose Tales. It's an honor and a privilege to have you.
Well, thanks for letting me come to play, but next time I know what I'm going to bring.
And what's that going to be?
Another chair, so I didn't have to kick Patty out of the chair, so we could have all of us around here.
Yeah, well, we're a work in progress, but it's a good idea. Did you guys get that? Another chair, maybe a table.
I'm going to bring it. I'll be back tomorrow.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get so passionate about the agriculture, political world that's going on right now?
Well, I didn't get it through a jab.
No, I bet not.
Amen. So I'm sixth generation. I call it man from the land, U.S. farmer. My family came from Germany to Quincy, Illinois in 1832. And I tell you that story right up front because we've been farming the same land in Illinois, even though I left there in '88. My nephew is set to take over. My brother-in-law farms it right now since 1832. And we have all of these people sitting in cubicles trying to develop sustainability plans for farmers.
Right.
Somewhat sustainable to be in the same farms, farming the same land for 200 years, but Kelly and I are raising 3 daughters. I guess we kind of accomplished that. They're 23, 18, and 16 in central Nebraska. We have cattle, we have pigs, and we have horses. And I'm here with you, which means I married the hardest working woman in the world. People always say, Trent, you're always on the road, you're gone, and I speak on average 30 to 40 states each year. And I've been very fortunate to speak in 48 states, 5 Canadian provinces on 4 continents. And so I tell people straight up, my ranch is just as big as my wife can handle.
Nice.
And that's not a joke. But to answer your question spot on, you know, I haven't known anything ever other than just taking care of land and livestock, and we're primarily livestock. But the more time that I spend on the road, and in the past 7 days, I've spoken in 6 states, from Oklahoma, Nebraska, to Montana, Rapid City, and today here in Bismarck. And it's the people. It's the people that you meet along the way that share the same passions about food production and taking care of the land and generating energy. You know, Lignite Energy Council's in town today, and nobody's been beat up and demonized more than energy producers. And you visit with people and you give them just a little bit of hope, and all of a sudden they're inspiring you to do more. And the absolute best thing that's happened this week, we had a phenomenal meeting Tuesday night in Rapid City, South Dakota at the Elks Theater. I love the Elks Theater. Kurt Small, an independent theater owner, has done a tremendous thing. And and we had 250 people there, and we were talking about 30-30. We're talking about the erosion of property rights. And so Margaret Byfield was there with me, and we did this program together, and I play Phil Donahue at the end. And anybody under 40, that means you run around the crowd with an audience and ask them questions. You don't ask them questions, you hold the microphone so they can ask questions. This little girl, first one to raise her hand. And I get over there with the microphone, and she says, I'm 13 years old, and I want to take over the ranch one day. What do you suggest I do to combat all this stuff? You know how long that will inspire you to continue to go find a way to empower people and make a difference and make sure that we get back to the fundamental basic rights of property rights in this country, and property rights are tied directly to liberty. And so the answer to your question is that I continue to be inspired by the people I meet, and I have a little bit of everybody inside of me. Even though I previously said I'm the only guy in my head, there's all these people that are in my head and my heart that
battling it out.
just want to live in the trenches.
Yeah.
Can you explain, you said you were talking about 30 by 30. Can you explain to our viewers what does that mean, 30 by 30?
That means that life is over as we knew it if we let this happen. It is part of an executive order that was signed by Biden on January the 27th. I thought I'm going to sit down and read this before I talk about it, because so many people just read the summary, or they get little sound bites, or they see somebody on some TV program talking about something, then they want to expand upon it without really taking the time to dig in. It took me 1.5 hours to read this executive order that is 57 pages long, 7,657 words. And the majority of the executive order talks about bringing an end to fossil fuel production. That's what the majority of the executive order is about. And there's one paragraph in there that talks about 30 by 30. And the concept is that by 2030, the federal government, through this executive order, wants to have 30% of the land and oceans to be a part of climate change mitigation. And what that means in their terminology is returned to its natural state.
So you're...
Mother Nature is the most cruel, environmentally devastating part of life. And what we have done in this country since basically 1776, really more aggressively since 1862, in the establishment of the United States Department of Agriculture, is that we have managed Mother Nature so that we can continue to improve Mother Nature and use those resources to improve human lives. And so now what we're talking about is reversing all of that. And when you put it into context that the federal government already owns 28% of the United States landmass, and the state governments own 4.5%. So the state and federal government currently owns 33% of the landmass, and this 30% that they're talking about in addition is not what they already own.
It's in addition.
But it's the land that you and I and individual property owners around this country own.
I was reading an article where it said a large swath of land through the prairie lands of the Midwest was part of their plan. And to me that says, oh, less land to farm, less land to raise cattle and pigs.
That's how you
sheep
start a food shortage.
Right.
Control the people.
Yeah, so are you saying then the offshore drilling is part of this, where that'd be all shut down?
In this executive order, it specifically names drilling and oil exploration on federal lands for the energy portion. For the land portion, and there's one other component to that executive order, which is net carbon zero. And it's basically saying, and we heard that in a press conference on this very morning today, April 22nd, from the White House, talking about completely eliminating energy production as we know it, coal and natural gas. And net carbon zero means that no matter what business you're in, if you're in the business of producing TV programs and getting them to the public, you have to do that in a net carbon zero atmosphere. Has anybody thought about what that really means?
How that's going to work, right?
How does it?
That's not going to work.
It's not realistic.
Simply taking your cell phone and talking on it, you're contributing, because they have to produce this. And you think you produce this without emissions and everything else that people are just completely ignoring and not paying attention to until it hurts them personally.
Sure, I want to bring up a quick meme that I had found earlier about the pollution. And it's people that are telling us, farmers and ranchers, how to live. It's like funny how the people that think this is trying to kill them don't seem to have a problem living in that. So it's people living in the cities that are basically telling us what we're such poor stewards of the land, and that farming needs to go away. Oil production needs to go away. Everything needs to go away, and they're living in that. They're sitting in cubicles telling us how to run the land.
Number one contributor to greenhouse gases is construction and concrete, condos, and consumers. Areas that have urbanized and developed and eliminated all of the green, eliminated all of the carbon sequestration opportunities, and yet they sit in those cities pointing fingers. And that, Mary, that was an absolutely beautiful meme, because Amazon rainforest. Who doesn't get all teary-eyed when you talk about the importance of the Amazon rainforest? Did you know that the United States corn crop converts 8 times more carbon dioxide into oxygen for one growing season than the entire Amazon rainforest?
Wow. Well, we're going to have that and more after this with Trent Loos on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Indoor football is back in Bismarck. Bucks football season is right around the corner. Grab a friend or family member for a night of action-packed, hard-hitting entertainment. The Bucks open at the Bismarck Event Center May 8th as they take on the Massachusetts Pirates. Catch the sweetest seats in the house right on the sidelines with VIP service at a Bucks turf table. Available now for single-game purchases. Secure your tickets today by calling 701-595-0771. Bucks football, half the field and double the fun.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground. Enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car! How will we? The car! Your offer's been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing. But how will we? The closing!
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We are joined by Trent Loos from Loose Tales, and we were talking about the 20 by 20, but I also heard there was something 50 by 50.
Yeah.
We got to get a new sign, though.
What's that?
Ladies with another view and a dude.
And a dude, right? Ladies and a dude.
Ladies and a dude. Got to get the dude on there.
Absolutely. We can get that done. Make it happen.
So, to answer your question, the White House has not addressed 50 by 50, but the language is directly from the Center for American Progress, that is currently in the 30 by 30, and the Center for American Progress, which is directly from the United Nations language, is talking about 50 by 50. So it's almost like as if there was a stepping stone into 50 by 50, which if that's not bad enough. Now let me do the math for you. If 30 additional percent, in addition to the 33% they already own, is at 60%, what is 50 by 50 on top of 30 by 30?
Be 110% if I
Means
do
we
my head
own
math right.
0.
It's kind of like we're going to forgive your loan at 120%, I believe.
Wow.
Because we have that happening today as well for people who had loans, and they're going to pay them 20% more than the loan because of, I don't know, it might cost something to drive to the FSA office to check it out. I don't know.
Wow.
But all of this math just doesn't work.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And then add Bill Gates into the picture. He's buying up all kinds of farmland and.
Bill who? I don't know who you speak of.
Yeah. He's not the dude on our show, and he won't be.
Isn't he like the doctor, philosopher, knows it all?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, I most know him for a deposition that he gave when Microsoft was convicted, found guilty of price fixing and ruining the public, stealing money from them. I watched those depositions, and that was the true Bill Gates. Everybody should watch that.
Can we still get to
Absolutely.
it on Google?
Yes,
and
it is
find
findable.
Okay.
Yeah, I prefer you go to DuckDuckGo.
Yes,
Yeah,
we use
yeah,
that.
So much
we do.
better. But, so Forbes did an article about Bill Gates, the largest landowner in the United States. Only they said the largest farmland owner. Did you catch that?
I did. Agriculture
Because
landowner.
there are 50 individuals in the United States that own more land than Bill Gates. He's 51st on the list.
But his is agriculture, which makes a kind of a difference, so doesn't it?
Well, you're right to a point. It is tillable. He's the largest tillable landowner. So Ted Turner is the second largest landowner in the United States, but most of his is range, and in New Mexico he's got some forestry and things like that, which are still part of agriculture, but they're not tillable land. So Bill Gates is the largest tillable landowner at 242,000 acres. The Omaha World Herald followed that up with a story that said, and in Nebraska he owns 22,000 acres. So what I did in one of those counties that he owns land in is actually my neighboring county. So I walk in the courthouse, and for $1.25 you can get an assessor's report of the land that Bill Gates owns. And I learned a lot of interesting stuff from that, just from the one county. There is involved in every single one of his land transactions is a group called Hancock Financial. Hancock Financial is the Hancock Insurance Company from Boston, Massachusetts. He either purchased land from them or sold land to them in every one of the Nebraska issues or land transactions that I looked up. In each case, the manager of that farmland is Hancock Farmland Trust, based in Savoy, Illinois. There's somebody else that we know whose son farms in Savoy, Illinois. He owns a train or two that runs through North Dakota.
Oh, of course.
Yes, sir.
So it's just ironic when you start digging and you find a tie to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett at every turn. And I started digging also. Last week, one of my speaking engagements was near Cushing, Oklahoma. It was in Payne County. Cushing is in Payne County. Stillwater's in Payne County. You know the significance of Cushing, Oklahoma?
I don't.
The Keystone Pipeline was headed for Cushing, Oklahoma.
Wow.
And there is a pipeline that comes from the Canadian sands into Cushing, Oklahoma, owned by Enbridge Petroleum. Enbridge Petroleum is currently, or was recently in October, purchased by a guy who also happens to own the rail cars in North Dakota that haul the oil that would be in the Keystone Pipeline. Yes, Warren Buffett owns the trains that hauls the oil, and if it doesn't go on the train, it goes through an Enbridge pipe to Cushing, Oklahoma, and we kill the Keystone Pipeline because Warren Buffett's not involved.
Wow.
There you have it.
All of this could be documented, and if you go to Cushing, they'd be glad to tell you what's exactly going on with pipelines coming in and out and how we have totally wrecked their economy in that town.
Wow.
Right. And isn't it something, like you said, when you start researching, the certain few names keep popping up, being connected. You draw your circles, and it gets to be a small world for where that power structure really is for millions of people. It's pretty scary.
It is, and I want to expand upon that because not only is it just a few people, but also it's the farmers and the consumers of North Dakota that pay the price. Because the farmers are at a disadvantage when trains are hauling oil when it could be going through pipeline from a basis standpoint. So a North Dakota farmer does not get what an Iowa farmer gets because the trains are occupied with oil instead of wheat.
Right.
Consequently, they are at a disadvantage when it comes to prices.
There's been such a backlog, and it's not so much anymore, but there was such a backlog, we were waiting on cars.
Sure.
Because the rails were full of oil. And then
all the grain was on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Wow. My eyes have been opened a little bit. I mean, they're open, but now they're like getting wide open. And we appreciate all the information you're sharing with us. Touch a little bit on waters of the U.S. Now, we don't have a whole lot of time, but touch on that because that also, trains, planes, and automobiles, this is like land and trains and water.
So it all comes back to one word, navigable waters.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a navigable water, the federal government has control of that water. And what Waters of the U.S. was attempting to do was to say any water
that was leading to a navigable water.
Just a puddle in your driveway
Yep.
Right.
would be considered under the jurisdiction of the federal government.
Right.
So let's just say you were changing oil in your lawnmower, if people actually did that anymore. But if you're changing oil in your lawnmower in your driveway, and you spilled a little oil in a puddle, now this is an extreme case, but you could be subject to an EPA fine for polluting the waters of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just another grab at those property rights to say that we're going to control all the water possible. One of the first initiatives that President Trump implemented as president was to kill that plan for waters of the U.S. to come into effect. I personally believe that it's part of the bigger package of 30 by 30 and what we're looking at doing long term because it definitely included, it said oceans, but it's not hard to extrapolate oceans to all waters, and I think waters of the U.S. will be part of that plan long term.
Sure, and then it was also so much land leading, like say that water is technically owned by the government, you have cattle coming up to that water, that's the government water, so they could technically put rules as to where to water, how much water you can take, because it's waters of the U.S. We don't own the creeks going through our properties anymore.
And that's not a what-if scenario, Mary, because our friends in Minnesota who've had cattle and livestock have been dealing with that for years.
And even
30 years
Washington.
ago, right, 30 years ago that was in place.
Yeah.
And just so much of the demonization of animals on Earth, period, is what I'd like to talk about when we come back.
Absolutely.
See how I try to take over
Yep.
your show,
See?
and soon it'll be the dude and the other chicks.
Or how about just the dude? What if we just, Beck gave you your
No.
own show? We
No.
might be onto something there.
Yeah. You never know. You never know.
I'm a one-hit wonder.
There you go. Well, you're a great wonder, though. But yeah, we do have a whole lot to talk about because it's the future about American agriculture in general. It's like, all right, if Bill Gates came up to me and said, hey, Mary, I'll buy some land from you. I'm going to offer you, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times what it's worth. There's a lot of farmers that have a hard time saying no to that.
Yeah.
I got 30 seconds. That I personally would say no. And there are so many people that would say no, but there's that person who's down and out, hasn't had a good crop in 5 years. That person's going to say yes.
So many people have been over the barrel so long that it's hard to say no after a period of time.
Absolutely.
Moral of the story.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, we're going to go and get more after this, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Trent Loos after this on Ladies of Another View on Back.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve. Through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Welcome back to Ladies and a Dude on Beck.
It doesn't say that. This is a digital little sign you have at the beginning, and it did not change before we came back into this break. All it takes is a computer and somebody going, dude, D-U-D-E.
D-U-D-E. Well, we're going to work on that, I bet. Oh, it's so much fun to have you here because you put a lighter spin on some very serious stuff that farmers and ranchers and Americans are going through. You know, we're on the front lines of something really big here, and you know, our food production, land ownership, I mean, oil, I mean, it all has to do with private landowners who have a lot of, you know, we do produce the food or we have the mineral rights. You know what I'm saying? There's just so much involved, and it's a private entity, but yet it's all being taken away. What happens when all of that gets stripped? I mean, where do we go? Where do we get our food? Who do we trust or rely upon to produce our food?
So it's interesting how my own evolution is people were talking about local food. And local food got hijacked by people and to mean something other than what it was all about. And regional food and local food now is really something that we need to think about from a security standpoint, because we've seen what the infrastructure, how at risk the infrastructure is for transportation. You know, there's 1 million trucks on our nation's highways every day hauling products that we need. But we have states like California demonizing diesel fuel, trying to make diesel fuel illegal. And 1 gallon of diesel fuel replaces 500 man-hours in food production. You know, in 1900, it required 10 acres of land to produce enough food to feed 1 person for a year.
Wow.
And today it takes less than 1/3 of an acre to produce enough food to feed 1 person for a year. And that's thanks to technological advancements, thanks to fuel, thanks to energy, and all of those things that we've been able to automate as much as possible. And what we're doing now is taking a step back towards horses and mules. The issue is that we're approaching 8 billion people on the planet, and we have achieved all of these efficiencies that with a couple strokes of the pen we're talking about reversing. And it's really, you know, the farmer in the United States in particular, and I'll include my friends in Canada in this, are very resilient, and we find a way to produce food no matter what the hurdles are. The person that needs to wake up is who you just mentioned, and that's the consumer. who's reaped the rewards. And until COVID in 2020, people didn't take the time to stop and think about 9% of my disposable income is spent on food. 16% of their disposable income was spent on entertainment. When you spend nearly twice as much on entertainment as you do for food, you're taking something for granted. And so what we're doing here today, and the reason that we're even having this discussion, is that we want to wake people up and say, hey, let's start asking more questions about who's producing the food, where's it coming from, and I want to know how many miles it traveled, not for its carbon footprint, but to know what the risk of me getting food to my house is.
Sure. I want to pop up this quick little meme that I had sent to the producers about thanking a farmer, about, you know, you need a farmer every day. Once in your life, you need a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman, and a preacher. But every day, 3 times a day, you need a farmer.
Yeah.
It can't get any more real than that. It doesn't matter, even if we can go ahead and talk about vaccines. Vaccines are made with animal byproducts. You know, whether you're for or against your vaccine, you know, animals are involved in everything from your shoelaces to your gelatin to your gummy bears to your leather belt, your leather seat. I mean, it's absolutely. Oh yeah, your skin care, skincare, everything. It touches everything.
To your cell phone.
To your
There's
cell
stearic
phone.
acid in your cell phone from a cow. So you cannot operate without an animal.
So
but
any
I was
vegans
wondering
should
in that,
get rid of their
in
cell
that
phones.
picture, when did they take that picture next to my fence at my house?
Is that your fence?
Well, that's what my fences look like. That's why my neighbors are always mad.
You need some help there.
So here's some products from cattle. Okay, for your brain, there's anti-aging cream, there's medications. The blood is in pasta. I had no idea about that. Imitation eggs, cake mixes. The hooves and horns, of course, are adhesives, plastics, pet food. I mean, the manure is fertilizer, nitrogen, milk. I had no idea they get adhesives out of milk and plastics, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like they're demonizing agriculture, but yet it touches everybody in their everyday life at almost every moment.
It seems to come into line with what we were talking about in Minneapolis. You know, people don't realize the true ramifications of not doing something or doing something. And they're taking so many things for granted that, you know, we're going to end up with a society that is totally dependent on the hierarchy, and we are all going to be the servants. They'll take away the land, they'll take away the rights, and they'll tell you what to do, what to think, what to eat, what to drink, and you will have to do what they say, unless you stand up for it.
And here's a quick thing on pigs too. So everything from the, you know, you use everything on a pig except the squeal is what I've heard. But everything is in everything, including your beer. So if you're a beer drinker, beware.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if you'd provide the dude a beer when he comes to visit.
You know what? That's the wrong show. Becker gets to go ahead and serve alcohol. We don't. We need to be on a later time slot.
Yeah, there you go.
We can have happy hour with dudes and the lady.
Yeah, there you go.
Ladies and the dude. Happy
Ladies
hour.
and the dude. There you go. Yeah.
Sign me up.
Okay, you're in.
You know, speaking of which, though, something else that we've taken for granted, and I brought everybody gifts. Is it okay that I
We
bring?
love gifts.
Oh, well, this one you're going to adore.
Oh,
because each one of you, I carry these pocket constitutions in my pocket all the time.
Thank you.
I usually don't pack, you know, a baker's dozen, but I happen to have a baker's dozen today.
Kindly. Awesome.
And you have to sign the back pledging that you're going to read it. But we've taken this for granted as well.
I have one in my
And
purse at all times.
And I hear people say, well, he's a constitutional judge. Excuse me? Does that mean that there are judges that are not constitutional? Everything comes back to this Constitution. Actually, everything comes back to the 10 Commandments, but that didn't have enough paper for the bureaucrats of the day, so we put it into what we call a Constitution.
Right.
And we need to get back to that.
We absolutely do. And in fact, you aren't the first one that has these. Guess
shoot.
what? Jan, our little Miss Jan here, gives out something very similar at her business. She owns a glass
exactly
shop.
the same copy. We have them for everyone that comes in, and even if they're not shopping with us or doing business with us, they're welcome to come and pick one up. We highly recommend.
But we appreciate that. That's
great.
That's amazing, because it all boils down to the Constitution, and we all have rights. And it seems like the government, they think that, oh, we're here to help. It's like, no, we're the people. The government isn't supposed to tell us what to do. We're supposed to tell the government what to do.
Well, they didn't give us our rights either. Our rights were always ours. They were given to us by our Creator.
Right.
These guys are supposed to defend them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is the solution for everything that we're talking about here today, is the answer to these issues do not reside in Washington, D.C. They reside in your courthouse. You know, if you're in whatever county you're in, you need to get more involved. You need to know your sheriff. The sheriff is the ultimate authority in the county. The county commissioners are there. They are to be the governing body. And then you have the school board. And what we really need to do is take control, not take control, give our opinion and our blessing, so to speak, and our peace of mind to our local elected officials so that we stop the overreach from Bismarck out to each counties and from Washington, D.C. to North Dakota and whatever state you may be in. The answer is simple. Get involved locally, go to those county commissioner meetings, go to the school board meeting, and make sure you remind the sheriff your job is to protect the citizens of this county, and we're here to help you.
Well, I think District 14 made some changes a couple weeks ago. They had some people show up, and the entire body flipped. It's like they have new legislators.
Really?
Yep. And so it's one district at a time, one state at a time. Things need to change. And so in less than a minute, what would you like to leave our viewers with?
I'm going to leave everybody with a gentleman that I met. I gained so much wisdom from the people who've been there and done that. I met Moses Del Barney at a draft horse event in Brighton, Colorado. He was 82 years old, still training perch run horses. Absolutely amazing inspiration. And I went up to him and I interviewed him for Loose Tales, and I said, Moses, what's your secret to success? Be gentle, stay firm. And that works on people too, he said.
Oh.
And in life, if all of us would just be gentle and stay firm, be respectful. It's good that we disagree, but at the end of the day, we still all should have the same goals to make the opportunities for the next generation of American citizens better than what we found ourselves.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you coming on. How do we find Loose Tales?
LooseTales.com, or I do a daily blog called loosetails.blogspot.com.
Perfect. And we'll be right back after this. Thank you very much on Ladies of Another View. On
And a dude.
And a dude.
Success story.
Absolutely. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel, from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Indoor football is back in Bismarck. Bucks football season is right around the corner. Grab a friend or family member for a night of action-packed, hard-hitting entertainment. The Bucks open at the Bismarck Event Center May 8th as they take on the Massachusetts Pirates. Catch the sweetest seats in the house right on the sidelines with VIP service at a Bucks turf table. Available now for single game purchases. Secure your tickets today by calling 701-595-0771. Bucks football, half the field and double the fun.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after hours oasis of sanity. How can these people not see that they're just clowns?
We help simplify and educate you on things going on in the legislature and around the country.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
But also having Lee Stack and Sid and Marty Croft stuff, and we've talked about that sometimes. It's bad.
Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, but we're missing our dude.
Yeah.
I know.
He was fun.
Isn't he fun to
He was
have?
fun.
He's just amazing. And if you people want to, check out Trent Loos, Loose Tales. He's very knowledgeable. I think of him as almost the Rush Limbaugh of the agricultural world. Not just a cowboy, but all
Right,
of
yeah.
agriculture. He's really, he's just pro-America and pro-farmers, pro-ranchers, and he walks the walk and talks the talk. He's not all hat and no cattle. The man's got cattle, too. So speaking of cattle, yesterday I was helping Kenny do some chores. You know, we have chores before we do this town gig thing. Anyway, take a peek at this.
Just about had a rodeo.
Where?
When I got on him. Ooh. He farted, and it was a squeaker, and it scared him. He scared himself.
Oh my God. And so what he said, almost had a rodeo today. And I said, what? Why? And he goes, well, the horse, he farted, and it was a squeaker. And he scared himself that he started to buck. And then the way Kenny explained, he goes, yeah, he jumped this way and he jumped that way. Like, well, where'd that come from? And so that on a horseback. So anyway, that's just a day in the life of us out at the ranch. But, you know.
It's real.
It was. And I couldn't help. I just started laughing and I couldn't even catch my breath. And this was all completely unplanned. It's like, really, here we are.
Every young boy is loving that clip. I'm sure of it because there isn't any boy that doesn't like. And I'm sorry to be sexist, but I know all the boys love fart jokes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, I have a fart story involving a horse, involving the world's largest horse.
Oh.
I was at the Michigan State Fair. And back in the day, they used to have these little, oddity shows.
Sure.
And so my friend and I paid to see the world's largest
Okay, how
horse.
old were you at the time?
I was a teenager.
Okay.
Yeah, teenager or maybe freshman in college. So we took the bus, went there ourselves. And I was walking around. I mean, granted, I'm not that tall. But I felt this breeze, and my hair blew. And I was on the back end of the horse. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got farted on by the world's largest horse. So I just thought I'd share that. Since it's the
Thank
theme.
you. That's a great visual.
My hair actually blew.
Blew her hair back.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
Forget the fans for the model shot.
Oh,
Just go behind the horse, right?
Not everybody can say they were farted on by the world's largest horse.
That's true.
It's all the exciting things at
Yes,
this.
at the
funny,
Michigan
that's
State
funny.
Fair.
Oh my goodness.
I just remember too, I grew up on a farm and we had cattle as well, and just, when we'd have to move the cows from one pasture to the other, and it would always be to drive them down the gravel road. Sooner or later, you got them all herded up and you had your leader cow, and the rest would follow, and just walking those roads and trying to keep them intact, and the mooing and the crapping on the road and don't step in it, and I mean all the stuff. And that's some of my most treasured memories today.
Yeah.
It's like that was family time that not too many people get anymore, but there's something about it that just builds, I don't know, because none of us stepped in it. I don't know, I'm just riding a horse. And we had this old swayback mare that my great uncle was a pickup man for rodeo, and he had this old swayback that he didn't use anymore or want. So we got her, and her name was Buckshot. And my sister was in the front, I was in the back, and we were going to ride her in the corral, and I must have been probably about 5. Rode down to the end of the corral, and the horse was trained. The minute you turned around, she took off and headed for the barn as fast as she could go. My sister caught her head on the top of our little barn, and she fell over on back of me, and I'm just like laying there. I can't breathe because the wind's knocked out of me. But that's his favorite memory, too, because I'm going to die, but it was so fun,
That's what I said growing up in the farm. There was, there's 6 kids in our family. And I always say, well, there was probably 8 or 10 of us, but only 6 of us made it.
Right,
because
right.
of things just like that,
Yeah.
take away, runaway horses. And now as an adult, that's why we train our kids never, ever run back to the farm, never run back to the barn, because your horses learn that then. And then
Yeah.
they pick up, that's a very bad habit.
Yes, it is.
And it's just one of those things.
Yep.
But isn't it just the farm stories, that type of thing? Isn't it just fun, just the countryside?
It is. I'm a city girl, but I always loved spending time in the country. We'd go horseback riding. We have friends who live out in the country, and I was so glad that our kids could go visit on their farm because I love the stories.
Yeah. Well, and one more that I'll have. Mom decided to get chickens one year. She was going to get chickens, and we were going to butcher, and we were going to have a lot of chicken. And so I remember when we went to butcher, us kids had the best time. Some of the viewers, I'm sorry if this offends you, but you wring their neck, and then you let it rip, and the chicken goes there, and the head's still here, and the chicken's running around the yard
its head
still
cut
with no head. We thought it was the funniest thing ever, but
Some
and
kids
but
have
then we had to
nightmares
pick all
yet.
the feathers, and that wasn't so fun. So, you know, it was, yeah.
I just want to mention something before we all take our leave from one another today. Up at the state capitol, the House overrode the governor's vetoes on the mask mandate bill.
Amen.
And also on the women's rights in sports bill. And they are going to be heard in the Senate at 5 p.m. and we'd love to fill the gallery. So if you can get off work early or you can come there from home, we'd love to have you there.
Yes, so that's tonight, 5 o'clock, so just a half hour after we're done here. So anyway, another thing, Saturday is cleanup day in Mandan. So everybody, if you have time, get out and do some cleaning up in Mandan. So you got a whole list of things to do here. You got to get to the Capitol tonight by 5, and you got to get to Mandan and clean up on Saturday. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Ladies of Another View on Beck. Without a dude.
Without a
No
dude.
dude.
We'll find
Dudeless.
another dude.
More news on Friday.